YouTube? This is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your early must-adds for Week 14 waivers. There were a lot of injuries, a lot of great games this past weekend, and I just want to make sure we are currently up to date on your waivers. That way you guys have early access to picking them up. If you guys do have questions, of course, who you should pick up, how much fab you should spend, priority of who your waiver wire should pick up, of course, hit us up in the comments down below. We obviously have a nice Monday night game with the Buccaneers versus the Saints, so hopefully you guys get that Monday night miracle. And then, of course, we have 1 week left before the fantasy playoffs start. So again, these waivers are going to be very important of who you should be grabbing and dropping to make sure you guys are ready for that. Now, the first position I want to talk about is going to be the quarterback position. We've got Jared Goff versus the Vikings. He's available in 50% of most leagues. Goff had a great game against the poor Jaguars defense. They couldn't stop him. He finished with 21 fantasy points, 340 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Looked really good. He also had a lot of his weapons back. Swift looked healthy, had a really good game. He has DJ Chark back, who looked really good. Jameson Williams, I didn't really do much. Jameson is obviously back from his IR stint, but again, another weapon for Jared Goff to possibly throw to. And he's going against the Vikings defense that has been really poor against the pass. Obviously, they won against the Jets, but they have not done a great job stopping the pass. So Goff might be a nice little streamer pickup that you may need to put in this week because remember, there are a couple buys going on in Week 14. So again, I like Goff as a nice one. Tyler Huntley is another player that I recommend picking up, possibly, especially if you're a Lamar Jackson owner. He's going against the Steelers this week. He's available in 99% of most leagues. Right now, Lamar did get knocked out of this past weekend due to a knee injury. Currently, there's no timetable. I heard days to weeks. There's a lot going on that Harbaugh kind of said. So right now, he has not been announced out for the upcoming game against Pittsburgh. But there's a good chance that he could be, which means Tyler Huntley comes in, and Huntley might have a nice little sneaky play this week. Anybody who has Lamar Jackson, though, may want to consider if you have the space to add Huntley just in case, because, again, you don't know what's going to happen until probably Thursday or Friday. So I would consider possibly looking at that. Now, as far as running backs go, I have Cam Akers versus the Raiders. He's available in 54% of most leagues. I know Kyren Williams was the hot name, and even I expected a little bit more out of him. I thought he was going to be dominating the passing game, but he actually did not do as much damage as Cam Akers did. Akers really performed really well. They trusted him on the ground. He had 2 touchdowns in this game this past weekend. And Akers was always supposed to be the back for the Rams. Like, that was what was talked about. That was what was expected. He looked really good before his injuries. And then the Rams just kind of was non-committal to him, right? They put Henderson in. They talked about this other stuff. And then there was a possible trade. And then that kind of fell off. And then right now, we're not really sure how this has played out. But Cam Akers is probably the best bet when it comes to actually being a back you might start for the Rams. I'm not saying he should, but he's got some solid matchups coming up. So he might be a nice little flex play, again, depending on what your roster looks like. So I like Cam Akers. Now, James Cook versus the Jets, he's available in 76% of most leagues. Now, I know James Cook will be asked a lot, which is why I want to mention him in this video, because they had a really good game against on Thursday night for the Bills. But I have no trust in the Bills' backfield. It is a Josh Allen team. It is a game that, yeah, the running game is starting to get used a little bit more. It's starting to get a bit colder. They're trying to obviously make sure they're in the game, but they're still using Singletary. You still got James Cook. It's just there's no trust in this one. Now, he did put up 16 points on Thursday and 64 rushing yards and 6 receptions, which looked really good. Like I said, if there were an injury, obviously, hopefully there isn't, but if there was an injury that were to happen, then yeah, James Cook or Singletary would be an absolute must start, but there's just no sure dominance in this backfield that I trust James Cook or Singletary for, because you just don't know who they're going to play. But I wanted to mention him in this video because I know people are going to ask about him, and I know there may be some deep leagues you may want to grab him. So he's one to consider. Tony Jones Jr. for the Seahawks. He's going against the Panthers. He's available 100% of most leagues because no one ever thought about adding him. Tony could possibly be the starter for the Seahawks this upcoming week. Walker left with an ankle injury. It was pretty bad. There's no timetable yet of what's going on with him. Hopefully he can play, but we'll see. And then DJ Dallas is the other running back who did end up playing. He did pretty well, but he also had an ankle injury. Now he did play through it. So his wasn't as severe as Kenneth Walker's, but there's a good chance even he misses the game. So if that is the case, Tony Jones becomes the starting running back for the Seahawks. I'm not saying he's a full worth grab. Like, I'm not putting a lot of fab on him. I'm not putting a priority on him. But if you have a deep league and you're looking to fill in possibly a nice little play, nice little sneak sleeper, Tony Jones is somebody you might want to grab. Now, as far as receivers, I've got Darius Slayton. He's the only receiver I really want to mention this week going against the Eagles. He's available in 39% most leagues. Slayton has had some decent points the last few weeks, hitting double digits 2 of the last 3 weeks. He's being forced as the wide receiver 1 in this depleted wide receiver core for the Giants. So realistically, Slayton's the guy. He's not a bad receiver. It's just he's not a stud receiver. He's a solid 5 to 6 catches, 60 to 70 yards, get you again 12 to 13 points. Maybe he'll get a touchdown to help add value, but that's about it. So he's a nice little flex play. Again, deep leagues, you should be grabbing Darius Slayton absolutely. In a non-deep league, again, depending on your roster, he might be somebody you might want to consider because they are going to play the Eagles, who obviously should be up and being forced to throw. So now, as far as tight ends, I've just got a list. I'm not going to go into depth. I've got Engram, who's available in 57% most leagues. Noah Fant, available in 87% most leagues. And then Daniel Bellinger, available in 98% most leagues. Those are the top 3 tight ends I believe should be someone you may want to consider. Because probably most of you, like me, may have had to stream tight ends throughout the season. You don't have that stud in Kelsey. And even Mark Andrews hasn't been the stud as of late, especially with the quarterback situation going on. So for those who have had to fill in tight ends, these are 3 tight ends you may want to consider. Engram had a great game. Fant had a good one. Bellinger only put up 7 points, but he's back from injury, and he was doing well before the injury. So, again, those are my top 3. You could possibly talk about Greg Dulcich, but I'm not going to mention him. That Broncos offense is just horrible. So those are my waivers that you should be considering picking up in week 14, depending on where you guys are at. Again, if you do have questions of how much fab or who you should be picking up dropping, of course, hit us up in the comments down below. That's where we're going to help you guys out the best. If you guys did enjoy the content, make sure that subscribe button and that notification bell is on. That way you guys are notified every time we drop a video just like this. And of course, our start and sit videos, which will be dropping as well to get you guys ready for the last week prior to the playoffs. So again, make sure you do that. Also, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit the like button. It's greatly appreciated. You guys have been fantastic. This is an amazing community, and I want to thank you guys so much. And again, make sure you pay attention. We'll be dropping our start and sit videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.